mean, on one hand, we can understand that since India also faces a lot of problems, to a certain degree, welfare schemes are perhaps necessary, but not to an over excessive level, right? Where still, I mean, at least personally, I believe that there is, whether it's the UPA or the NDA, somehow the state has this nanny attitude towards its citizens, right? And that's the word that, we know better. We know what's better for you, so you don't tell us what to do. But in reality, the government will probably not even have to look at the capitalistic countries for inspiration as to how rightward economics can be, wherein parties like the Swatantra Party has, at least in my opinion, has set the right example way ahead of their times back in the 60s and the 70s.
Okay, now I had the good fortune of interacting with Mr. Raju of Swatantra Party.
Okay.
And I had the good fortune of talking to G. Narayan Swamy, a doyen chartered accountant in Chennai who passed away in August 2019 and was the auditor of the one and only Rajagopalachari. From what I understood from Raju, especially, was the Swatantra Party has filed a writ in the Bombay High Court challenging the inclusion of the word socialism in the Constitution and also to the People's Representative Act. Now, 29A of the People's Representative Act was amended when Constitution was amended, and the preamble was amended to include the word socialism by I think a promise or affidavit or whatever you call it. Political parties have to certify to the Election Commission of India they believe in the tenets of socialism. Now you go back to 1947 to 49 when there were the Constituent Assembly debates. I don't know the exact date, but Nehru wants to have precisely the word socialism in the preamble, and he wants to somehow or the other make the Constitution a socialist construct. Ambedkar makes a very strong plea and tells Nehru that, look, we cannot decide for the future society what they should do and what they should not do in terms of their economics. We should keep the economic policy out of the political realm. Right. We only are creating a political idea of India and leave the other things to the successive generations. Let them decide what they want to do. Correct. And I think it is one of the most exhilarating speeches in the Constituent Assembly debate that must be probably be discussed in all +2 curriculum, like the Tryst of Destiny speech of Nehru himself. Unfortunately, our Constituent Assembly debate, we take only one speech of Nehru, that to one part, and say, when a world sleeps, India awakes to freedom, and all, a very philosophical speech, no doubt about it. Yeah. And it's a speech for the occasion. But hardcore economics was discussed several times. In fact, I forgot the name. In fact, in my book, I have traced all these speeches. There is one gentleman who says, you are asking free this, you free this. Why not a free camel and a motorcycle? He asked, it is in the Constituent Assembly debate. So somebody says, we have to give free this, we have to give free that, we have to give free this, all this to the poor people.
It was not a joke?
It was not a joke, but he said it in jest. Okay. He said, why not a motorcycle and a camel? That's the word that I think he was from the western part of the country. I just forgot his name. I don't want to misquote somebody and, I crave the forgiveness of somebody who's not there. So this is how our parliamentarians or the framers of the Constitution debated on the idea of socialism. So I think the time has come. Probably people like me have to really think to pursue the writ of the late Raju as General Secretary of the Swatantra Party and see to that is taken to a logical conclusion, because Raju told me this, that this is something very seriously, he finds it offensive. He says, I have no problem with whatever you do, but I cannot believe that you had the word socialism. But as you said, Raju was way ahead of his time. Swatantra Party was way ahead of their time. Right. And by 1955, there was no Ambedkar, no Patel. And Nehru had come to occupy what I call as the commanding heights of the political economy.
Right.
And that was when the Avadi session happened in the Congress, and they ushered in not only socialism within the government, the Congress party arrogated to say socialist pattern of society.
Right.
You have to understand the seriousness. You don't organize only the state, you organize the society also. And I must confess that they have been fairly successful, because the society has become by and large a product that is earning for governmental intervention at every stage. So this 60 years of toxicity has crept into our DNA, that if there is anything we are looking and saying, Modi ne kya kiya, Sarkar ne kya kiya, Kejriwal ne kya kiya, we are only asking why the government has not done anything.
Yeah.
Whereas our reaction is not why we have not done anything.
Right.
So and this is classically, and that is why my book, I have argued, classically this departs from the way we traditionally think, and we only talk about our duties.
Right. So you think this was different in our ancient times?
Obviously. In fact, I would say that, again, drawing back to my book, I'm sorry if I'm
No, please.
I still not yet detoxified myself from my book. I have talked about Ram Rajya in chapter 10 of my book, which is a penultimate chapter. I said Ram Rajya is more of Rajya, less of Ram. In the sense, Ram is the government, Rajya is the nation. And when a nation has to be built up, the government has to come down. And no government has ever built a successful civilization or a nation. Civilizations have built nations.
Right.
And civilizations have not been built on the endeavor of government. It has been built on the endeavor of individual rights, responsibilities, duties, initiative, enterprises. That's how, it's a bottom-top approach, not a top-down approach. So if we have to become the Vishwa Guru, which is our unstated objective at this point in time, we have to dominate every field, whether it's economics, politics, microbiology, whether it is space, whether it is mathematics. We have to have hundreds of institutes, research scholars, and it's no more that we have to look to the West to give Nobel for these laureates. We have to have Nobel of Indian. Why not Ramanuja Award for economics, Ramanuja Award or Aryabhatta Award? You start that and say that this is what we will give to the outside world also. A Japanese scholar must be happy getting the Aryabhatta Award in astronomy or mathematics or whatever. So that's how the world will look at us as some sort of an emerging superpower or the arrived superpower. And when I say superpower, I'm not using it in the Western sense of the term. I think India as a superpower has always been responsible.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.